Welcome to the Blender Goon and part 2 of the clock for Celestine. In this video we will be optimizing and unwrapping our mesh. Now we need to do some optimizing and unwrapping. So on our little bolts I'm going to select all of them. Oop, that's not a bolt. When you select, you should be able to select closest to whatever you want selected, and as long as you're closest to it than anything else, it should select it. Now we'll go into edit mode, and well, actually, before we go into edit mode, hit /, which is a question mark on the keyboard, and that'll isolate your selection so that you only see what's selected. Then we can go into edit mode and face select mode, and we're going to select all of the back sides of our bolts. We're just going to delete those faces. Faces. Now, if we select one of these, we'll go into object mode and select one, and hit A and go into UV editing. It's already unwrapped because the cylinder comes unwrapped by default, and since we deleted the back side of the cylinder, it was over here. Now it's gone, and that's the side of it, and that's the top of it, so we're good. We can leave this just how it is. So all of the bolts are pretty much unwrapped for us by default. Back to layout and / to unhide everything again. Next part, we're going to unwrap this little part because it's just going to be easy to unwrap. So select it, and you can do the / on the keyboard again, which is a question mark. Tab into edit mode, and I want to do the right side for my seam. That way, if we get any mark, it'll be right here. And go into edge select mode and alt select that. There shouldn't be a top or bottom to it, so you can right click and mark seam there. With M as the hotkey. If you right click, you can see that mark seam is underlined by M, so that's how I know it's M. And A, U, and unwrap. Object has non-uniform scale, so we want to apply our scale before we unwrap it. So object mode, Control A, and we're going to do scale. And then back into edit mode with tab and U and unwrap it again, and now we don't get the error. And if we go to UV editing, it looks like this, and it's a mess. And I like to straighten stuff like this out. I have UV squares and text tools, but I'm going to show you how to do it manually first. So if you go into vertex select mode with one on the keyboard and box select just two vertices, we can do an S, Y, 0. And I have proportional editing on. Make sure you turn proportional editing off because that'll break stuff. So S, Y, 0, and then we can select another the bottom two, and do a Shift R, which will repeat last operation. We can box select the left side and do an SX0 of the same face here, and then box select the right side of it and do a Shift R to repeat the last operation. And then 3 on the keyboard to go into face select that one you made square. Hit L on the object or on the UV to select everything, and then right click and there's follow active quads, and ta-da, it's nice and square. So that's unwrapped now. Alternatively, let me back that up. If you want to, and you have the add-ons, either one of these should work. So UV squares, you can select it and select everything and just snap the y-axis and it'll work. As long as you don't have any poles or triangles or n-gons, it should square everything up, and this thing's basically a square. Let me back that one up and I'll show you text tools. Text tools has the UV layout area, and then down here there's rectify. If you hit rectify, it does the same thing. So that's the 3 ways to do it. The manual way, in case you don't have an add-on, and the other 2 really good add-ons to have for UV unwrapping.
Okay.
It's good to know how to do this stuff. So we're gonna leave that alone. I'll arrange all this stuff after I'm done unwrapping everything. So back to layout, and that puts us back in isolation mode. So / to get out of isolation mode, and This guy, you have to keep in mind how much texture space you want to use for each object and how you want to unwrap things. This thing, though, we're going to just go into front view and hit tab. Probably don't even have to go into front view, but I'm going to. That way the UV stays forward. And hit U, and we're just going to do a project from view. And that will unwrap it exactly as we're looking at it, which is straightforward and straight on. So now if I go to UV, it looks like that, and that's okay. We'll probably have to scale it up and move it around, but I'm not worried about it right now. We'll adjust all this when I get everything unwrapped. So this thing we can hide. We don't need it anymore. The clock itself, I'm going to go into edit mode, and depending on what you want to do with this thing, you can unwrap it different ways. I'm going to unwrap it so that we can texture each part of it separately. So on the front face, again, I'm going to go into front view, select the front face, and do a U. Actually, let's go into edge select mode, and then right click mark seams. Hit in also. I think it. Yep, the seam went in. You can tell because it's red. That'll get that separated by itself. I also want a seam over here on my edge. So I'm going to grab this one, I think, or maybe that one. That one, and I hold Alt to select that one, and right click mark seams. And then the back also, right click mark seams. And then since this thing's going to be hanging, I'm going to put the seam at the top for the split because we need to split it so it lays out flat. So I'm going to put it here. I think that'll be better than the bottom since this thing will be higher in the air and it'll just be less noticeable up here. Plus there's something covering some of it. So right click mark seams for that. Now we can hit A, U, and unwrap. That'll unwrap the whole thing. This one's crooked, but we'll fix that. And the front face, I want to actually go into front view and select the front face by itself and unwrap it with a project from view. That way it stays the right orientation. And then I'll go to UV editing and I'm just going to move it over here so I know where it's at. If you hit A, now all that stuff's there. We can go ahead and straighten this one if you want. I'm going to do it manually again just so you guys can see the practice. So select 2 of a face, SX0, 2 of another face, and Shift R to repeat. The bottom 2, SY0, and then the top 2, Shift R to repeat. So now that face is square. The reason it's Y and not Z is because this is a UV space and it doesn't have XYZ coordinates. It has X, Y, and U and B. So L to select everything, 3, and I'm going to select that, deselect it, and reselect it. Right click and follow active quads. And now that's straight also. We can move it over here. Like I said, we're going to arrange all this stuff later anyway, but that'll do. Okay, let's go back to layout. And what do we want to unwrap next? I guess we could do the clock hands next. They're going to be a pain in the butt. I'm going to select both of them and hit the / to isolate them. And I'm going to flip it around to the back side, go into edit mode. We're going to remove some of this stuff here. We don't need any of the backside because you'll never see it. So 3 on the number pad or keyboard. And I'm going to select this edge and Alt select it. That'll select all the loopy area there. And I'm going to select this one and Control select this one, and that'll select that edge or that row. Shift select this one and Control select the top one. That'll get rid of that. And X and faces. We'll get rid of those faces. And do the same on this one. Control. Actually, let's do it the way I did it before. I'll select this, and then Shift select that one. Control select that one. Shift select that one, and Control select that one. X faces. By the way, if you guys are following my videos and you haven't already, I have a Discord server, and if you get stuck, I'm happy to help anytime you like. All you gotta do is poke me, and I also have a Patreon, and there's like, I don't know, 200 hours of me doing this stuff live every Sunday on Discord, and I record it and I put it on Patreon. So, if you're in Discord and you want to come see me on Sundays, it's 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock if you're in second lifetime. And yeah, you can see me doing this live. It all gets recorded and put on Patreon. And like I said, there's 200 hours of it. So if you want to support your Blender Goon, that's where I'm at. Let's see. We need to get in here and hide these other faces inside here. So Alt Z and try to figure out which ones they are. Be easier if we just hide this. So I'm going to select one of these and hit L and hide it with H. And then Alt Z to go back out of X-ray mode and select those two faces, and we'll delete those. And then Alt H to unhide. So this thing's all ready to be unwrapped. And I think I'm just going to project it from view because you're not going to see these edges really. So we don't really need to unwrap them per se. And these will probably be some kind of metal color or black. So in the front view, hit A, and we're going to do a U project from view. And if we go to UV editing, we can go in here and we can hit L on one of these and just move it. Maybe rotate it kind of straight. And L on this one and rotate it kind of straight. And that should be good enough unwrap. If we wanted to, we could get the sides unwrapped too, but I don't think it's going to matter for this part. Okay, so we can unisolate this with our /, and we need to do the rest of our stuff now. I think we will start with this guy has a little problem here, so I'm going to go into edit mode of this and Alt Z to go in X-ray mode, and 1 to go in vertex select mode, and select these two. I'm just going to scale them down just a little bit so that they're not poking out anymore. Might even be able to move it up. It might look better if we move it up. So let's move it up just a hair. So back in edit mode and GZ, and we'll just move that up till it's inside. That should be okay. Let's check the other parts. We'll move this stuff around a little bit to get it lined up a little better. So I'm going to box select those two and move them on the X till it's inside. Make sure it doesn't poke out the other side. Same with this one, tab, and then back in edit mode on this one. Alt Z, box select those, Alt Z again to go out of X-ray mode, and GX, and we'll move those back. And that just makes it look a little better. I think that looks much better than it did. Make sure you're not poking out on the edges of this, but this one looks like it's wide enough. We might be able to make the whole thing a little wider, but I think I'm going to leave it alone. I think it'll be fine. So now, let's start with this one. We need to apply our modifier. So over here in the modifiers, which is a little wrench here, or spanner if you're in Europe, we can apply that modifier, and that turns it into a solid piece of mesh. Now we need to unwrap it, and I want to unwrap this thing a specific way so that it doesn't take as much space. So go into edge select mode, and I'm going to alt select that edge, and then I'm just going to shift select those ones. Actually, you know what? Let's do the back side. So I'll select this edge, and then shift select that one, and that one, and at the top also. That one, and that one. Right click and M for mark seams. Now if we hit A, U, and unwrap, we'll probably get our error again when we did. So tab in object mode, Control A, apply your scale, tab, U, and unwrap, and let's go into UV editing. And it's not straight, so we need to straighten it. This time I'm just going to use the tool, but you guys seen how to do it before. I'll just use not a random, rectify, and that straightens that out. And that's using pretty much as little texture space as possible. I might be able to unwrap the top different so that this lays this way. Let's take a look at that. So if you mouse over any window in Blender, you can hit Control Space, and it will full screen that window. Doesn't matter which window you're in. So we're going to full screen this one. And if I remove one of these two seams, that one, let me see. So anywhere we put a cut, it's going to cut it. So I think I want to remove this seam. So right click and then clear seams. There's not a hotkey for clear seam. And I'm going to do the same on this one down here. Doesn't matter which one. Right click, clear seam. And now if we unwrap it again and go back, control space to go out of here, you see it's, we have a problem here. So we need a seam on the other side also. So we'll mark this seam on the top and the bottom. Right click, mark seam, U, unwrap, and now that's sticking up there like that. Instead of being long, it's on the side, so it uses less texture space, which gives us more texture space to get a better resolution on our bake when we bake this stuff. So we need to rectify it again, or UV squares, whichever one you have. So we'll snap it to Y-axis. And we're going to unwrap the rest of them the same exact way. So if you want to, come back and look at this. So we've got a square at the end and one seam down the edge. So back to layout. If you are in edit mode here and you go to face select and you alt select the edges, the horizontal edge of the piece, it'll go all the way around, and then we can right click. This is in face select mode, by the way. Right click and shade smooth. It'll shade smooth that and get rid of that janky stuff. If I back that up, you can see what it looks like. See how it's like that, but it doesn't mess with the sides of it if we do it the way I just did. So control shift Z to, I guess that ain't gonna work. Right click, shade smooth. There we go. And we'll do the same to these ones also after we apply our modifier. This one, we're gonna apply our modifier. So I haven't applied all, I have a modifiers add-on, but to do it manually, you just hit the drop down and apply. It's also control A, I think. So this one, we can go ahead and do our smooth. And now we need to unwrap it. So this is the back side. So we're going to mark this seam. So 2 to go in edge select, alt to select that seam, and right click, mark seam on that one. The inside we don't need, so we can get rid of that. So alt Z and 3 to go in face select and select that face and delete it. We do need that one up here. And we'll do the same with this one when we get to it. So we don't have to do the mark seams on the bottom, but we do have to do the mark seams on the top. So alt Z, and we did 2 in the edge select. We did those 3. Right click, mark seams, A, U, unwrap, UV editing. I didn't get the error this time, so I must have applied the scale. If you get the error, just apply your scale. UV editing, and A, and flat. Back to layout. Do this one, apply the modifier, select the horizontal edge of that, and so it goes all the way around with the alt select and right click, shade smooth. 2 to go in edge select one of the edges, probably that one. Right click, mark seams. Alt Z to go into X-ray, come down at the bottom. 3 to go into face select. We'll select that edge or face and delete that face because we don't need it. Edge select mode again, and select. Yeah, those edges. And right click, mark seams. A, U, unwrap. Go to UV editing and check it. Looks good. A, N for the end panel, and snap that one. Back to layout. And we have one more piece to unwrap, I think, and we're done. So let's select this one, tab, and we're going to do the same thing here. We got to apply our, so this one's a curve, so we need to convert it from a curve to a mesh. So right click in object mode, right click and convert to mesh, and then back into edit mode, and now it's mesh. Alt Z to go out of X-ray mode. We have a triangle here, so I want to get rid of that triangle. So just select everything and do X limited dissolve, and that'll clear up uh, any triangle faces you have. We're going to select one of the edges. So to an edge select, and we'll select this edge. Right click, mark seam. And then we'll do the same here. Select those three. Select those three. Right click, mark seams. Tab, and we're going to apply our scale. So Control A, apply our scale, and then back into edit mode. Select everything, U, and unwrap. UV editing, and we'll straighten it also. Why I did that? It's not supposed to do that. It looks like we might have some split faces, so I'm going to go into vertex select mode and hit A to select everything, and M. Oh, what did it do there? Our limited dissolve broke stuff, so we're going to undo it and get rid of our limited dissolve. So undo it until the limited dissolve goes away. And that put our triangles back. So I'm going to just select those faces. Actually, if you select everything and right click, we can, in face select mode, we can do tries to quads, and that'll get rid of them. That's better than the limited dissolve. Now we can unwrap it again. So select an edge. I also want to check and make sure that there's no double vertices from our fill caps. So if you hit M, you could do by distance, and I removed 8 vertices. That means they were split, and I will show you what that means. So I backed that up, and I'm going to select up here so I can zoom in. And if I grab one of these vertex and move it, you see how it's not connected? So when you do the AM by distance, it takes all 4 of those vertices that are on top of other vertices and merges them together. And it done it on both sides. So now if I grab this vertex and move it, it's all one piece. So 2, select 1, select these ones, and then select the ones at the bottom. Right click, mark seams, A, U, unwrap. There's our unwrap. Select everything and to go into the menu, and we'll snap it flat. So now we need to arrange the UVs on this thing, how we want to do it, and put some thought into it. So the clock face itself, I think I want it to be its own UV. That way people can drag and drop clock faces on it and not have a problem. So on your clock, select the main part and go into face select mode. And we're going to go into UV editing. And we're going to make this its own UV and just move it over here. I'm going to control space to get the full window here and scale it up. And I'm going to try to get this thing dead center. So I'm just going to zoom in, and there's a point of origin right here. And I'm just going to move that as close to the center there as possible. Not getting too crazy with it. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, there, now you can see the black dot. And I'm just lining it up with the grid. And then up here in UV, there's a constrained image bounds. I'm going to click that and hit A, and then scale it up until it just runs into it. That way, if you put a texture on here, it should just automatically work. So control space out of there. I'm going to turn that constrained image bounds off. So that part's done. And we need a material on it. So the bottom red circle here is our materials panel, and we can just click new. And if we go to shading, Celestine has made a clock face for me to put on here. So if you find a clock face online, you can just select a green node for the principal BSDF in here and hit Control T, and that'll give you your texture coordinate node, your mapping node, and your image texture node. And I can click open, and go to my desktop where I saved that, and there it is. Control space to come out. We can zoom in on it and hit Z to go into material preview mode. Sorry for no screencast keys on this, but it's Z, the letter Z. And that put it on everything, which is not what I wanted, but that's fine for now. We can see that the clock face is lining up how we want it to line up. And it looks pretty. And Celestine's named it Goon's Clock. But you can search for clock faces and get any clock face image. Try to search for royalty free. That way you don't get any copyright issues. And we'll move on to putting materials on the other stuff. So let's jump back into the layout and um, Z on the keyboard, or you can go up here and click the material preview. And we're going to go and mess with some Blender Kit textures. So make sure you save your file before we mess with the Blender Kit, because Blender Kit will crash you. Hit N and go to Blender Kit and Materials. And Celestine wants some copper on here. So we'll go to Categories, Metal. We can scroll up to the top here and type copper. And we can just try some. So I'm going to drag this one out and see how it looks. And I just broke stuff. So Control Z that if you can. And I can't. Or I could. I Control Z too much. There, back to where I was. So the reason it broke is because I don't have materials assigned. It has one material and that's covering the whole clock. So go into edit mode. And if you select the clock face with face select mode and then hit Control I, you can invert the selection. Now we can scroll down here to our materials and hit the little plus for a new material and click new and assign it. And that'll turn it all white. Now, if we go back into Blender Kit and we save that again, file save, and go back into object mode, and our copper is gone, so I'm just going to click that and then click metal again. That should bring our copper back up. And now we can drag and drop this, and that's what we get. These materials are, some of them are PBR, some of them are procedural, and I want to actually see what it looks like with lighting. So I'm going to select our viewport shading up here. You can also hit Z and go to rendered. And we have light set up already, so this is what it looks like with the lighting. And we can control space and maybe hide all this and close that. And since Celestine's here, we'll ask her if she likes it. Do you like that, Celeste?
I think it is so pretty, yes.
All right, she likes it.
Very nice. Yeah,
So
absolutely. I might want another texture on the back of it, but there at the front, it just looks great.
what would you like on the back?
Something a little bit more shiny.
You want copper or you want...
Yes.
Would you like the whole back piece to be a different color and just let the front be this?
Just let the front be that one.
Okay.
And then the back piece, something, I don't know, just a different
Okay,
copper or brass color.
So control space to go out of here, and she wants a different color on the back, so we need another material. So I'm going to turn my overlays back on because I turned it off so I could see. Tab and edit mode, and we need to select this stuff. So I'm going to select the back side with face select, and then hit control and plus on the number pad to grow the selection. And we just want to go to our seam there. Yeah, that should be good. And now we need to add one more material. So plus on the number pad, or on this guy over here, and then new, and then assign, and that'll turn that white again. And now we can go back in here. Do you want another copper, or do you want black cast iron, or what do you want?
Another copper or brass.
There's a brass.
That'll be fine.
There's a rusted bronze. We'll try that one. So before I throw that on there, we'll go back in object mode and then throw it on there. And wait for it to load. Like that.
Can you make it darker?
I don't know. So we can go to shading and look at this mess. So we got to figure out what's what here. It looks like this is not the texture we're working with. Oh yeah, it is. It's rusted bronze. And go into rendered mode so we can see what it looks like. And then it's interesting that there's green in there. Looks like this is the colors. So we can just select one of them and click this and just turn it down to darken that one up. Select another one and click the bottom and darken it up. And then this one, click the color. And I'm just rolling my mouse wheel to darken this stuff up. And back in the layout and see if Celestine likes it. How's that?
I do. Can you turn the repeats down a little bit?
Yeah, we can scale it.
Yeah.
So back to shading. And if we look for our texture coordinate node, we don't have one. So we have to follow these around to find where they go. And it looks like it's probably both of these. Yeah, they're both the same. So I'm going to control space onto this. And I think it's a value node. If we get a value node, we can plug this into the scale of the noise texture and the scale of this noise texture and make sure there's not any more. That should be good because if we start scaling this, we have to scale both at the same time. They're both set at 50, which is, whoa, okay, they're set at nothing now. They was at 50, but we can adjust this one node now and affect both of them at the same time. So where do you want it, Celeste? It was at 50.
I like it where the splotches are quite large. So down at that 0.6 thing, that was pretty good. Yeah, yep, that's fine.
Oh,
like
0.5.
Yep.
What about the other texture? Want to try to mess with
Is
it a little bit?
Yeah, is it easy to change?
I don't know.
The green to perhaps be a little less.
Okay, so we're going to try to make less green on the copper. So back to our materials here with the red circle, and we need to choose this one. And then scroll out to find it. There it is. Zoom in on it.
I suspect you can just move those little handles there. Yeah, yeah, much better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole node group here.
Copper is so complex to make. So yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to mess with that node group. Tab to back out of that. If you select a node, and if it says node group or it has this little double icon thing, you can click it and go into the node group, or you could just select the node itself and hit tab, and that'll take you inside of what is in there. So that little node, the green node there, has all this stuff inside it. Procedure textures get crazy. But Celestine's happy with this, so we'll leave it at that. And what are we putting on this side, Celeste? You want the copper or the brass or some wrought iron?
I like the brass on the little swirly thing there in the middle.
This guy?
No, the swirly one.
This one.
That one, yes.
All right.
And on the.
Well, hold on. Slow down. Remember, we're making a video. Okay, so we're going to put the brass on this one. So we can hit our little drop down here with this one selected and find the brass, which is the rusted bronze. And we'll put that on there. And I think the repeats might be okay. If you need to change the repeats on this, you can't change it the way it is. There's a little 2 right here. There's also a little 2 over here. And that controls, it's saying that the material is on 2 objects. So it's here and it's here. So if we want to isolate this one, we could just hit this little 2 and it'll turn it to 1 and it'll rename it to a different color. well, 001, which is technically a different color. And then we can go in here and change our repeats on this one by itself. So if we change this one now, it won't change that one. But if we leave that 2 there, it will. So now we can take a look at this and see how many repeats we want on it. Take it back to where it was. Control Z to take it back to where it was. I think that probably looks good there. And then what are we doing to the others?
The others I would like to have as cast iron, except the little thingies that I can never remember what's called. Yeah,
What
that
about
one.
what about this piece?
The bronze as well, or the copper, one of them.
Let's try the copper. So
Yeah.
select it and hit the drop down over here, and we'll put the oxidized copper on it. And if we want to change the scale of it, would you like the scale changed? Or is it okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So we don't need to mess with it. We'll leave it alone. Now, she wants wrought iron on this or cast iron, so we'll do cast iron. And Blender Kit's going to be stupid. Just click the all button there. This looks like a really good cast iron, so we will drag and drop that on there. I think that looks pretty good. We'll do the same with the rest of them. And now this number went to 3 because we have it on 3 different objects. And what about the little bolts?
I would like the bronze on those.
Bronze on these, okay. So what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to join all these together. That way they all get the same material at once and I ain't got to drag it to a bunch of different pieces. So select all of them and hit Control J to join all of them together. Now all of those bolts are one piece, so if we select one, it selects all of them. And we can hit the little drop down and put our bronze on there. And check it out. I think they actually look just right like that. So we don't have to separate our colors from that one because they'll be fine. And we'll close this and take a look at it with our rendered mode on. Are you happy with this, Celeste?
Somehow now I think the front looks too different, perhaps.
It does.
Yeah. Can you turn, now I know that it has that color scheme. Can you turn the redness of it a little bit down so it's not so,
Of the copper.
yeah, so it's not as red,
Okay, we'll go into
but a little
shading
bit
and
more yellowish? Yeah.
check our copper. And if you put your mouse in this window and hit period on number pad, it'll focus in there. I think home will do the same thing. The home key. Um, Now she wants the redness of the copper turned down. So this,
Or just turn it a little bit closer to the other metal we had on the back. Yeah.
how's that?
Much better, and then a little darker.
And a little darker. Good.
Yeah, I think so. Can I see it from a little distance? I think turn the color a little bit further down.
More dark.
Just a little bit. Not dark, no, just closer to the middle. Yeah, try that. Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
All right.
I like
Cool.
that.
You like this color, the black?
Yes, it's
You okay with
perfect.
that? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. We got our textures on there. So Celestine wants the inside the brass color also, so we can select both of these and Control J and join. Oh, we don't want to join those together because I know she's going to put a script in there and these will be moving separately. So we'll select one of them and do the rusted bronze, and this one also, and do the rusted bronze. Actually, I might not because we need to change that repeats for this, I think. You okay with how this looks at the bottom here, or you want me to mess with it?
Can I see it from a little distance? Gosh, that's fine. I'm not going to cam it in closer than where we are now.
All right, good.
So
So
that's fine.
since we don't have to mess with it, we can leave it the same material as the rest of it. Which one did I put on there? I put the regular one. Okay. There. And then we just need to do our glass piece. And I'm going to select it and put some glass on there. So glass. Whoa. That's perfect. I think
When
that looks.
PBR comes out in all of Second Life, that will look so good. Wow.
Well, we're gonna bake all this PBR anyway, so yep. That's it for this video. If you learned something or enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you'd like to support me and get tons of video of me and my Discord working on things, join the Patreon. Join me in the next video where we do some unwrapping and baking for SL's PBR. And I'll see you there.